Welcome to the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. We are going live this week for this episode. All sorts of guests. We've got Lisa Sewell joining us for our live episode. She's the Executive Director for Texas for Responsible Marijuana Policy. How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
It's been quite the week. And we are live. We haven't done a live one in a month? 2 months?
2 months.
Holiday?
Yeah, it was December, I think, was the last one.
We had the end of year extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we got coming up, Lisa?
Man, oh man, what don't we have? It's legislative session.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, we have a lot. I mean, session just began January 10th, and we've got lobby day coming up. We've got bills being filed. We have a deadline of bill filing March 10th. So right now, all the action is happening. We're excited about it.
It's, like you said, March 10th. So we'll know by then what all is going to be on the plate. And then from there, we've got to wait to see what goes into committees. We try to get as much information about that as possible. And then from there, once we know committee hearings, we try to push out to everybody, hey, this is the time to show up. This is the time to tell your story or make your argument, make your case. And we something new. I say fresh at this time. A lot of us have told the story. We've done the story a bunch of times, and it's I don't want to say tired. Tired, I guess, is one thing. It's getting repetitive. And it's not bad that it's repetitive. We still need to be there to remind them of this, but it's one of those things of make it interesting, make it new. There's new things going on. There's new angles to take.
And I think it's equally as important to go after the bad bills as it is the good bills.
Certainly.
I think we have to rally against these that are just absolutely ridiculous and want to reverse what we have on the books, the little bit that we have on the books now. So
at least make people aware of them, right? Like, it's not all advancement in this realm. There is a little bit of regression, as you mentioned, Lauren. So whether these bills stick or not, I think as we move along, we'll find out what bills moving forward we really need to address in a positive way, and what other bills we need to let people know, hey, this is dangerous for all of our interests.
Yeah, and like we say, we'll know for sure where we stand on that when that ending date gets here, March 10th, of where the cutoff is, where they can no longer file any more bills, right? That's when we'll really sit down and go, we like this one, we don't like that one, and then we'll let everybody in on it, right?
Absolutely.
Right, Lisa? I mean,
yes.
kind of give us a little breakdown of how that whole process works every session, so the people that haven't been involved might better know.
Absolutely. So, currently bills are being filed. I mean, in the last 3 legislative sessions, we've had up to 60 marijuana related bills. And so we already have about 18 to 20. And so we can definitely expect more before March 10th. So it's hard to decide which ones we want to agree upon at this moment and which ones we really want to push and support. But we do have some really good bills out there. So one of the things that I really like to make sure everyone knows is that Texas Normal has a live update on bills. So if you follow their page and click on the 88th legislative session, then you can see all the bills being filed related to cannabis. And then that will be updated through these sessions. So please follow that page and add it as a favorite.
I think we've got the same thing, don't we, Jesse?
I say I'm putting it down at the bottom. We have been doing the same thing, and I've been updating it. I had to update it the other day because the other legalization bill that went through, was it 1937?
Yeah.
So we're trying to stay on top of that, keep that updated as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a lot of really good bills filed already, right? So we have, from the decrim side of things, we've got Representative Joe Moody's bill that's been filed, and he's been spearheading the conversation for years, and we're very grateful for his leadership. And so that is definitely something. House Bill 218 is one to watch. And on the medical side, we have 1805, which is Representative Click's bill. And for everyone who is not aware, Representative Click has been the leader of the medical cannabis expansion. She implemented the program in 2015, And now here we are 2023 and we are still adding to the program. And so her bill is something to watch as well. But we do have many other great bills filed, including legalization bills. So
how much does it help that she's the elected, or not elected, but she's been given the chair of public health?
Second time around, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, very helpful. Thank
you.
you.
While we've got you, Lisa, tell our listeners and viewers that may or may not have been, because we're trying to get more and more involvement, right? That's what this is all about. So please explain a little bit more about how the legislative process works in Texas, how things happen from filing of bills from there on out, and just at least a brief overview of what people can expect, so that hopes and dreams don't get shattered so hopelessly like they do session after session after session.
Sure. So right now is the time where everybody's filing the bills. All the representatives are going to be entering that into the system. And so we can expect those to be continue to be filed until March 10th. Once March 10th hits, which is the deadline, we're really going to start to see a pickup of committee hearings. So if you're looking for medical expansion, your bills are going to be heard through the Public Health Committee. And those all committee hearings are posted in advance. You can see the agenda. It's typically a day or two, sometimes a week if you're lucky, beforehand. And, for whatever subject, if it's decrim, just once they go to committee hearings, then that is the chance when people get to come and testify on behalf of bills. And so that is something you'll definitely be hearing from the collective about, and our organization and multiple other organizations to get involved, be at the Capitol, be able to share testimony. If you can't be at the Capitol, then you can share your written testimony. And so that's a really good time to have your voice heard and support these bills. Once the committee hearings are done, then you're going to see the bills continue to be passed into the calendars committee for the Senate, into the House floor. Once they're voted on the floor, then they're going to go into move over to the Senate calendars committee once they decide if that is going to even be heard on the floor, or they'll set their Senate meetings. Once those meetings are held, then they'll send it to the floor of the Senate to vote. So it's once that happens, assuming that the bill goes from the House into the Senate and they're both approved the bill, then they still have to go in front of the governor. And there are many steps in between. I'm leaving many out. And so it's a very long, arduous process. May 29th is the last day of session. That is the sign die. And so once that date happens, that is when everything is done. So anything has to happen between now and then. So this is really the best time to get involved if you're really looking to get involved in the conversations with your representatives and making things happen.
Yeah,
the thing
absolutely.
The thing that was a weird exception last session was that there's deadlines that everything has to be met by for it to advance to the next step. Usually if it doesn't make that deadline, they go, oh, it's done. And when it got to the Senate, the medical bill it didn't make that deadline. The day after, they broke, I don't want to say they break the rules, they changed the rules because they could actually just, on the floor in the Senate or even the House, say, hey, we want to vote to change the time limit for posting up a committee hearing. It's supposed to be, the rule is 24 hours. They said, oh, we'll waive it. It's waived. Done. Saturday morning, they had a committee hearing. I think I heard it lasted, 45 minutes? They made their decision. The public wasn't there. There was no chance for anybody to show up. And it went to the floor the next Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
also COVID at the time.
What, Austin?
I was going to say that COVID at the time also, I think, really allowed for, politicians to have a little bit of leeway when it came to having maneuvers like this. So not that it was tricky, but we were living in extraordinary times from 2020 to 2021. And so Lisa, you've been out at the Capitol. Would you say that the feel is kind of like a back to normal? I don't want to say it's back to normal, but like it's not what it was in 2021.
Wow. In 2021, the doors were closed and locked with a sign on them saying made by appointment only, if they were even available. And now, yeah, I felt it was very back to normal this time around. You were able to go visit your representatives and their staffers, and it felt pretty good to be able to be back there.
I definitely remember that, going to doors and they're locked.
Yeah.
And then they'd finally put a sign up saying like, you gotta have a mask, gotta have an appointment, or we're not even taking appointments. It was odd.
Yeah. I mean, I did everything virtually last session, just because the restrictions were so crazy. I didn't want to spend the money to go travel to Austin. So, I mean, I took advantage of all the video testimony and everything that we were allowed to do, last go around. So, and I still haven't figured out, do you know, Lisa, if they're leaving that intact this go round for people to have that opportunity, or have they taken that away again?
That's actually a great follow-up question. I still do not know the answer to that. I think the rules are out, but I'm not sure if video streaming for testimonial will even be an option. So we'll have to follow up on that and get back with everyone.
I personally, I doubt they're going to do it as open as they were opening day. And I'd say the big indicator is the COVID tent is gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
They do still have COVID
Right.
testing inside the Capitol, though. That they do have that there. I don't know what the purpose of it is. I guess if you don't feel well, you can go get tested. I don't know, because you're already in at that point, so whatever.
It would be nice if you get a test to be able to know and then be able to get out.
Sure. As far as how the committee hearings and all that take place, kind of give a quick rundown, Lisa, for our listeners and viewers, how much notice we get and how fast that whole process goes.
So it can actually happen very fast. So it's really important to follow, Texas Cannabis Collective and our page and look for any notifications, because sometimes it could be very short notice, up to 48 hours. Sometimes it could be a week, and we're very lucky for that, and we'll take it. But once that bill is scheduled to be heard in a committee, we immediately send out notice to everyone so you can make arrangements to be there if you plan to do so. And of course, once that bill is on the schedule, then you definitely want to take the time if you can be there. And then there's a whole process that you do when you're there. You actually have to sign in on a little witness computer there at the Capitol, and then you get heard a few hours. I think it's a few hours before that you can go ahead and sign in and get scheduled to be heard. But with bills that are very popular and want to be heard, then you've got hundreds and hundreds of people that want to testify, and you have a short period of time to speak. Typically it's 2 to 3 minutes, more so 2 minutes than 3. Then
they even cut us down to 1.5 minutes in 2019 on the medical side.
I remember they have this little box. They have this little box they put up, and it has a little green light, a yellow light, and a red light, and it starts progressing down. And unless you're somebody special that they really want to hear from, that little red light comes on. They're like, boop, your time's up. You're done. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next.
We definitely have welcomed the sun from the Texas Capitol, staying there all night. I mean, it is, I can't remember if it was, I think 2019. Is that where we stayed until 6 o'clock in the morning on a decrim bill, I think?
Yeah.
That was his last session.
Last session, I remember, me, you, Jesse, Jax from Texas Normal. And this kind of goes on with the point that Lisa was talking about, how some of these bills, the testimony comes up very fast when they announce it. Sometimes it's only 48 hours. And so if I recall, we were there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we didn't testify on the bill until 4:30. Lo and behold, there's a medical bill that is being heard at 8 a.m. And so barely get enough time to maybe even have breakfast, and you got to jump into another committee. So these things kind of happen really, really fast. And so, I thank you, Lisa. If you follow the collective, follow Texas Normal, follow Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy, all of these organizations are part of a greater coalition that are literally the boots on the ground working and talking to legislators to really make these things happen. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting ready to take our first sponsor break. So when we get back, Lisa needs to tell us where people can go to register to get those notifications when the committee hearings and things happen when we get back. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yep, it's time for our sponsor break. It's short, it's easy. We'll be right back pretty simply, and we're going to be talking about that, the bills that are coming up this session that we know of so far. We'll be talking about those. I'm going to put them up on the screen for everybody. Time for our sponsor break, the Lonestar Collective Podcast.
Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and the Lonestar Collective Podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower, pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas. From traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Plus, for Texas veterans, the first prescription appointment is donated by Thrive. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective Podcast, the official podcast of Texas Cannabis Collective, distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Gramps.
And Gramps.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams, joined by co-host Gramps, joined by co-host Austin, joined by co-host Lauren, with our guest, Lisa Sewell, Texans for Responsible Marijuana Policy. And it has been quite the episode so far. It is time for us to talk about the bills we have coming up and how people can get notifications when bills are coming up and they can show up to committee hearings.
Absolutely. Yeah, so just a little feedback on that. You know, if you're looking to get notifications outside of our organizations, you can actually visit capital.texas.gov, and that is where you can make an account and sign up. You can choose the different subjects that you're looking for, and then you can click on those links and be able to receive notifications in your email. And so you know, that's how we receive those notifications, and then we get those out immediately once we receive them. But definitely follow our groups, and we'll be able to track those as well.
I recommend looking up the terms, asking it to find you things that say possession. That's going to throw some stuff in there that's not marijuana related, but there are bills that they go by possession, marijuana with an H, because that's how we put it in our bill titles. Medical, tetrahydrocannabinol, things like that. That's usually I put the whole list of bills out and I do little searches through the page that way. And they're hidden in there.
What were you going to say, Austin?
THC.
No, I was just commenting on what Jesse was saying.
Yeah, low THC cannabis is because we sometimes don't like to use the word, medical program. It's low THC in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about the bills we have here.
Yeah.
We have one hemp bill. I guess we'll start with that at the top of the page. We have one hemp bill filed. Senate Bill 264 by Senator Charles Perry. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. That's the one we really want to oppose right there.
That's one of the bad bills I was referring to, that we're going to have to stand up against this one, I think.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, it's relating to the production, sale, distribution, delivery, and regulation of consumable hemp products. For more feasible layman's terms, that would be Delta 8, Delta 10, HHC, etc. Majority of what's available in Texas today, right? What were you going to say, Austin?
No, I was just, this is one of those bills that, I think it kind of follows on the heels of what we saw in 2021. And I think from our standpoint, it's very important for us to just keep an eye on this one. I'm not certain its viability of movement through the Senate, and I'm not convinced that it would even get out of the Senate. It's just something to kind of keep an eye on. Some of these bills, they tend to look a little disturbing, but I think we all know that bills that get passed and as they move through the gauntlet of the Texas legislature, they don't look anywhere near what they look like as they're introduced. By the time the government signs. Yeah, exactly. So, it's something I think we'll keep an eye on, but I just don't want people to start running and pounding on Senator Perry's door, because of something like this.
A quick email to their particular representative and senator saying, I don't particularly support this bill would be the exact thing to do at this time. Absolutely.
Right. Yes. The politics is local. Let's keep it local. Let's keep it within your area, because that's where you're going to be most effective.
Well, that's going to be where you're going to be received anyway, because you're a constituent of that rep and that senator. When you start crossing those boundaries, unless you're with an organization or something, then you're not going to be received very well anyway, if received at all.
And I can tell you, there's already language that's going to be changed. I've talked to Lisa Pittman. I mentioned some language I saw, and it was there's, I don't want to say typos, but grammatical stuff that it's really? So there's stuff that's going to be changed.
Real quick, I know that Lisa's kind of on a bit of a time crunch. So, Lisa, would you just real quick take the floor and maybe discuss 2 or 3 of the bills that you see as the priority pieces that,
at this point is working on?
Sure. And good point. At this point, right? Because we have until March 10th. There may be some really solid bills that come out between now and then. So we all need to keep that in mind, But if we want to talk about decriminalization really quick, I know I mentioned earlier House Bill 218 by Joe Moody is a really important bill. It is possession up to 2 ounces would result in or not result in a custodial arrest if that was the only violation in the law. And it also sets up an expungement process for records for possession up to 2 ounces with a fee if certain conditions are met. And this is a really important bill. He has been very successful in moving the decriminalization efforts forward in the last few sessions. And so this is an important one to watch. Another one is House Bill 388 by Representative Thompson. This is actually going to amend the penalties for possession of cannabis flower, and possession of 2 ounces or less would be a Class C misdemeanor with no jail time and a fine of no more than $500. I mean, keep in mind, y'all, we are looking at felonies for anything by weight here currently. And so they're harsh and unreasonable. And we really need to be looking at bills that focus on removing those or lowering the penalties. We would love all penalties to be removed, but realistically in Texas, we know that we may have to take those baby steps. And so these misdemeanors and potential for expungement are much better than what we have now. So that's just my thought. But we also have, in the medical, I have seen a few of the other medical bills that look pretty decent. But of course, the one that always sticks out to me is Representative Click's bill. She is the one who spearheaded it, right?
Yeah.
And that, but there's going to be many other bills that do more, and we want to see more. We want to see a well expanded program that is safe and legal for all patients in Texas. And so, that's definitely something to consider when you're looking at all these bills. But this one, I always say keep an eye on because, like I said earlier, she is the one who's kind of led the conversation, which actually increases the cap to 5% by weight, adds chronic pain in replacement of an opioid, and any additional ailments to be approved through the Department of Health and Human Services, instead of waiting every 2 years to have to add any extra ailments. So those are definitely the highlighted bills that I keep an eye on. And of course, we love legalization bills, right? But personally, it's just hard to see that happening in the coming years. But I just can't wait for the day.
I think that's something that we need to let a lot of our listeners know and stuff too as well. I mean, we may be cheering on some of these bills. I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we want full, responsible adult use,
absolutely,
home grow. Like all of us are wanting a big expanded program. So, we understand that it's just after however many years all of us have been doing this, you just do learn that that's the baby spoonfuls that are tolerated.
We're going to get into a little bit more why that is later on in the third segment. So that's part of the discussion that we plan on having here tonight.
Hey man, I'll reiterate it, and I've said it probably 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more times. But nothing in Texas. You're all Texan. You all live in Texas. You all drive down I-35 or a similar, mega highway. You all live in this crazy weather, right? So we're all Texans here. This is not none of us here are in Oregon or Washington State or anything like that. West Coast, East Coast. We're born and bred here. The point is that you don't get anything done in this state without some really, really hard work, hard work in establishing yourself and making connections and meeting people. And, if you're trying to grow a cannabis brand, if you're on the industry side and you're very interested in growing your brand and getting into the hemp side or possibly the medical side or, whatever your dreams are, and you want to achieve it, you got to understand, just from a business perspective, that it takes long hours, blood, sweat, and tears, and it's just not something that's going to happen overnight like that. Not in Texas. All right. If that ain't your thing, then this ain't your state. It's that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Pretty much. That being said, we know our guest Lisa's got to probably cut out here pretty quick. So if you have any final words or want to point out your websites right quick where people can register for the upcoming Marijuana Policy Conference, please do that. And we'll after that, we'll take our next sponsor break. And then when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit more about what Austin was talking about.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you guys so much for having me. It's a pleasure. And I'm really proud of everything y'all do as well.
You're always welcome.
But yeah, just, you can follow our page on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can visit our website at texasmarijuanapolicy.org. We also do have an upcoming event that I think that they will also be speaking on shortly. It's our lobby day. We are very excited to host our lobby day. Last year we had to do it virtually. And so it's going to be great to be back in person. I believe there were quite a few hundred people in 2019 that showed up at the Capitol and spoke to representatives. And so what we'll be doing Tuesday, March 14th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will be all meeting at the Capitol. We will be breaking out into groups according to House and Senate districts, and you will be going and visiting those offices, speaking to your representatives and the staffers. We'll be doing a quick, brief legislative breakdown and update. We'll be doing also a small mini advocacy training, which you can also find out there in our social media. And so we're just really excited for everyone to attend. We expect a nice turnout this year. And so we hope to see you there. And you can find that invite again on social media. You can go to Eventbrite, and you can also visit our website.
And so if you're following us, if you follow us on social media anywhere, you're going to see it like repetitive over and over. The stories, we'll be reposting it. So we certainly can't wait for that day. It's almost like holiday.
It is. It's so fun, right?
Mhm.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Thanks again for
Hi,
being here,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank
Same
you.
here.
Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work.
Same here. Bye, guys.
See you soon.
So it is that time again. It is time for our sponsor break here at the Lonestar Collective Podcast. We thank Lisa Sewell for joining us from Texas for Responsible Marijuana Policy. We hope you will be joining us on Tuesday, March 14th for the Texas Marijuana Policy Lobby Day. I'm your host, Jesse Williams of the Lonestar Collective Podcast. We'll be right back after these sponsor messages.
Oak Cliff Cultivators is a sponsor of Texas Cannabis Collective and the Lonestar Collective Podcast. Oak Cliff focuses on quality assurance with their hemp products while providing customer service to help you discover cannabinoids to meet your needs. Their product line includes hemp flower, pre-rolls, CBG tinctures, edibles, Delta 8, and merch. For more information on their products' quality or to shop online today, visit oakcliffcultivators.com or contact them at info@oakcliffcultivators.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas. From traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Plus, for Texas veterans, the first prescription appointment is donated by Thrive. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective Podcast, the official podcast of Texas Cannabis Collective. Distributed on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and much more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. Here is this week's host, Jesse Williams and Gramps.
Welcome back to the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. It's our final segment for this week's episode. And we were going to continue discussing bills, why the legislature works the way it works, why baby steps are taken in this state. And if you've got questions, we're going to try to take some questions towards the end of that. So if you got questions, start posting them up in the comments. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, we can actually see the comments there and respond back. And comment back to y'all. So
It was
Chris,
really great to have Lisa, y'all. That was
well, yes.
I really appreciate her and all of the hard work that she's doing. And I know she just left us, but just want to reiterate that, like, you know, as somebody who, you know, all of us, none of us we didn't just jump into this, you know, willy-nilly. You know, we all kind of came up through doing, you know, a lot of activism work locally, statewide, federally. And so to see Lisa mature into this leadership role, very thankful to have her on our team. So thank you once again, Lisa, on the other side. All right, continue, guys.
So Chris, I want to hear your explanation as to why the legislature works the way it does.
Well,
this is going to be interesting.
There's several reasons why. I mean, this way the system's set up, it's meant to be hard to get things done, right? And Lisa kind of touched on it with the process of bills have to be filed, then they actually have to be assigned to a committee, and then the committee has to decide whether they're going to have a hearing on it or not. Doesn't mean they're gonna, right? So if they have a hearing on it, it moves forward. If they don't, it dies there. Then the bill has to go from the committee. If it's voted out of committee, it goes to what they call the calendars committee, and it may sit there and go nowhere else. They have to decide to schedule it for a floor hearing, as they call it. And then it goes through the process, through the floor, through, I think, 3 votes finally before it's actually a said and done deal. And then it can go to the Senate and basically starts the exact same process all over again. So it's a lengthily drawn out process with a lot of hills and curves and bumps in the road, meant to make it difficult to get things through. And there's two reasons for that. One is because they don't want anybody, everybody just getting anything passed and made into law in Texas, right? It's kind of a protective thing. But the other reason is that they want to keep that proverbial thumb on there and have that control factor. And the reason why, I think personally, and I'm open to anybody's comments and questions or anything else that they want to add, but personally, my thought process is simple. And I'll give you a little background. I spent 45 plus years in study of government, economics, politics, and the like before I got involved in the whole cannabis activism and advocacy world. And everybody knows why I got involved, because in 2016, I lost a son to epilepsy who refused to break these draconian laws surrounding cannabis to try it for his epilepsy, and we lost him to a seizure. That's what got me to switch gears. But all this knowledge that I've gained over all the years of observation and study have taught me one thing, and one thing simple. When the people get involved, change happens a lot faster. And we've even discussed one of these types of situations recent as 2021 here in Texas. Jesse and Austin and I have discussed it, I believe, right here on the show with the open carry situation in the last session. That bill got through the House, got to the Senate, and then Dan Patrick was like, I don't really like this bill, because law enforcement was pretty much against it. But the pressure came from the public, and that bill went to the floor. It got voted on, and it was passed into law. The same thing could happen for cannabis. If enough people show up, then they will have to stand up and recognize what we're saying. That's just, they cannot, because why? They're elected officials. They have to listen to us, but they can't listen to us if they don't hear us, right?
Right. And I think that direction is also very important here. From, you want to get involved. I've had some people have reached out to us and be like, oh, well, what should I say to Click's office? What should I say to Dan Patrick's office? I'm like, they're not going to listen to you, man. They're not going to listen to you because you're not their constituent, or you're not well versed, or you don't have a you're just so new to this that they're not. If you got to start with your home base, right? If your home base is San Angelo, find out who your representatives are. Just Google who represents me. All right, you Google that, type in your address, and it should pop up who your state representative is, who your state senator is, obviously your federal senator, which will be Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, but they'll also provide you with your federal state representative and city council, like all of that stuff. So get involved where you are locally, all right, and build out your community base from there, and from there you will be able to then start addressing things, hopefully, as we move down the line. And so, I think that's my biggest advice to people who are very passionate and want to get involved and want to, just go guns blazing, if you will, metaphorically.
I tell people every day, it feels like I tell somebody, I basically feel like this is it. Granted, they don't get a lot of money. Texas reps and senators don't really make a lot of money being in the position they're in. But
during the regular year, they don't.
No, but the tax dollars, bottom line, still do that funding. So, and fund their whole office, who do get a regular salary and everything else. But I look at it like this. They're my representative. They're my senator, right? They're paid to hear what I have to say. So I don't mind telling them every single day. Once there's a bill that I'm 100% behind, I will either email or call their office every single day until that bill is through. And they don't even take 5 minutes. But that's what we talk about, getting involved. showing up, doing the things. The other way that we're going to talk about, and Lisa touched on it earlier, is this marijuana policy lobby day. In 2017, I think they estimated 350 Texans showed up to the session in 2017 to the marijuana policy lobby day. And I wasn't involved in that one. My first one was in 2019, and we had 400 plus show up.
Let's just say 420.
Yeah, that signed in there, registered on site at the Capitol. It would be awesome if we could top 1,000 this session. I mean, that would be just, I know it's probably unreachable, but I mean, you think about it. This is my personal feeling, and everybody knows why I'm involved in this fight. It's because of my son and his decision that he was faced with that should not have been in front of him ever. And my thought process is, if we can possibly do that, it would be a life-changing factor for so many people in so many ways. I just, if you feel strongly about it at all, you're talking about one day, folks, one day out of your life. And it's everybody here and anybody else that's ever been involved in it can attest to, it's an experience you will never want to exchange for anything else.
And it's a Tuesday. Nobody's making money on Tuesday. Nobody's ever closed a big business deal on a Tuesday. All right. So come on.
The taco places do. The taco places make all sorts of crazy money on that day.
You got a good point there, Jesse.
I think on Advocacy Day, like it is like, because you don't have to make meetings with your people. Go to their offices, sign the book, but you have so much support with you, because it can really seem overwhelming and scary. I mean, I've talked to people before where I'm like, just write an email, and they're worried that a police officer is going to show up on their doorstep because they've advocated for whatever
it doesn't happen.
Is.
That's never happened.
I think Advocacy Day is a great day for you to really kind of break that and go to the Capitol, and you're going to be surrounded by people that really know what they're doing and are more than happy to show you the ropes. They'll walk with you to the offices. With you, they'll speak for you. I mean, it is the best time. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to help people around.
So I want to add some history into this and give some understanding why it moved so slow. Reconstruction era, but we didn't change it because, as Chris mentioned, it benefits them to keep the power in their hand.
Sure.
I recommend when we do go, and we've done this in the past, is you have a basic letter written as to why you feel the way you feel. Mm-hmm. Have it proofread. And the thing I've seen that I recommend don't doing is, because you should only have one page to get this done to get your point across. Yep. Do not use an 8-point font with no spacing and no margins to try to cram what looks like code for a website onto your page.
Quit picking on me.
I've seen 2 of those letters, and I was like, I will help you. We will get this condensed down to what it needs to be. We'll get the point across. Because I'm going to be honest with you, that's a quick way in an office for them to go circular file for that one.
Yeah, short and sweet.
I mean, really, it comes down to, it can really be as simple as I am for or against House bill, Senate bill, blah, blah, constituent name, thank you. It really can be that simple. You don't have to, because like you were saying, Jesse, earlier about keeping it fresh, they've heard it. So we're going to have to.
And on that note, let me reiterate, if you are a person who is going to take the time and come to Lobby Day, don't just bring your testimony, gather from your neighborhood, family, and friends, all of theirs saying the same thing, that I support this bill, this bill, this bill, I don't, this bill, that bill. And they'll all go in the folder, and your rep and senator will all get a copy of those. We need 2 copies, folks, of each testimony when you bring it as well. But yeah, that's an excellent point. Excellent point.
It's great to have something to physically hand them, because you're going to get there and they may go, hey, we don't have time. We really don't have time to discuss this. It's like, okay, well, I've got a letter. I can give you please give this to the senator or the representative.
Well,
Let them know.
Typically in the past, the marijuana policy group and Texas Normal have a folder that you carry to every office and leave that folder with the information supporting the bills that the coalition supports. And then everybody that has testimony just puts their testimony in those folders, and that's what you give to the office, in addition to trying to have, obviously, a conversation if you can.
Well, and can we talk about real quick? I don't think I'm as versed in it, but what a phone call versus an email versus a sign in the book. There's points, right, that each office gives for. How does that work?
Oh, I've discussed this in the past. I know what you're talking about. So, well, there's like a hierarchy for how important they're ranking when you contact them and how you contacted them. And it tends to be that if you have physically gone in to leave a letter, say something, they're assuming that probably, I think the number I said in the past was about 40 to 50 people that are your peers probably think the same way within their district. If you have picked up the phone to call them and say you want action on a bill or you support a certain thing, they treat it as probably about 30 people do, that the 30 of your peers support the same idea. An email goes to about 20 or 10. So it's better if you can show up to actually bring in for yourself to represent this 50, because they're basically, their staffers start tallying how many people physically came in, how many people have called, how many emails they've gotten for and against an item, to start weighing out whether or not how they'll vote on the floor.
Yeah. I was going to say, also showing up to that day specifically, in years past, and I know we're likely to probably be involved in something like this, but in years past, they've done an action alert the day before, pretty much letting every office in the entire Capitol, Senate office, representative office, know that constituents from their district, more than likely, whether it's Amarillo, Corpus Christi, RGV, Houston, Texarkana, Panhandle, whatever, like that they're coming. And so they're typically very prepared, and very responsive, and typically have somebody there to meet and greet you and ready to have a conversation about this particular topic as you being the constituent. So, I think for us, we all talk about how intimidating that building is, how easy, like literally we've been to that building 100 times, and every time we get lost. At some point we get lost somewhere. And so
you're going to get turned around.
And for most people who come to this day who have never been to the Capitol, it's quite a overwhelming experience. And so I just want anybody that's listening that is curious or might be kind of scared that they might show up and we'll be alone. You're not going to be alone. We'll make sure that you don't fall through the cracks. We're gonna get you, plugged in, and make sure that your voice is heard, for sure.
I want to add to that right quick. Don't mean to interrupt you, Jesse, but in response to what you're saying there, Austin, we are currently the collective. We're currently doing direct actions at the Capitol bi-weekly. On typically Wednesday. I think we're going to change this. Next one's going to be up on a Tuesday just because of scheduling reasons. But we're going to be there bi-weekly throughout. And it may even get to where one of us is there, maybe even weekly. If you have the time and you are in the general vicinity within, a half a day or 3-4 hours driving distance, Austin, you'd like to come visit your rep's office, your senator's office, but you've never been to the Capitol and you're just like, reach out to us at the collective at txcanico.com or at our Facebook, message us and just say, hey, can I meet y'all there? And y'all help me find my rep. We will be more than happy at any point from now until the end of session to take you directly to your rep and senator's office and help you have that conversation.
And we have maps. We give
Yeah,
people maps.
absolutely.
When we do handouts and things of that nature.
We
We
love
highlight what
maps.
offices are.
I still need a map. I mean, I absolutely, I love a map.
So something I wanted to add to what Lauren was talking about, when these action alerts come out and tell people, hey, you're going to send in a letter, and they usually give you about 2 to 3 templates that talk about what the bill's about. I highly recommend that if you have something you can change up a little bit and make it your own original letter, do so. Because we want to try to avoid having the same thing, just hitting them over and over and over again. Yes, it adds numbers, but when there's people putting that detail into it, they really start to take it serious at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the comments. I was kind of laughing earlier because Sean Meredith, he's been watching. Thank you, Sean. Another great advocate who joins us at the Capitol every session.
Absolutely.
I feel like we just saw him.
He called it Capitol Curious. You're not sure about how to get around the Capitol.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But we did have we have actually a serious question. Rob Rourke, I know he's out in San Marcos. He says, where he lives, we passed the decrim, and he asked, will there be legislation to challenge local override of marijuana that we will need to hold the line on?
Probably.
And so far, the answer is there might be.
It's safe to assume that there will be some kind of that will be addressed in some manner, and if it's not, then for the next year and a half after this session is over, they will work. It's almost a guarantee that they will, if especially because we have the San Antonio ballot that has just been approved by City Council in San Antonio, which will effectively decriminalize marijuana like it did in the other cities. But there's an abortion measure on it. They've added the no-knock raid, and banning chokeholds like they did in Austin. And so you can imagine that if they don't address this in this session, then definitely this is going to continue, right? It's San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. Like, it's just, every other city is going to start doing a lot of these initiatives locally.
The whole question of local control is going to be up for grabs because of,
we're going to see the hypocrisy, right? Oh no, that's a state level thing. Oh no, let the cities decide that. Oh, not like that.
Or they do
154 counties is my favorite.
They just take it away completely. They do have that ability, just say, local control is a no anymore. I mean, they can do it.
Yeah, and Rob mentioned what we were already talking about. Show up with handwritten letters. Definitely, that's like I said, show up with something original.
I've never been to the Capitol. What should I wear?
Business casual or business professional?
Absolutely. Blue jeans, cutoffs, and a t-shirt don't happen, or they don't get you heard anyway.
Yeah, they're like, they won't even look at your letter. All right, they're not even like you. Like, anything you have to say will already be. All they'll be able to look at is your tie-dye shirt.
I mean, what I'm wearing is not acceptable at the Capitol. Yeah. Jesse could get by. Jesse could get by.
We don't wear a lot of pot leaves. We all have like a gold pin.
There's one exception. There's one exception, and it got reconfirmed to me today reading a story from Lisa Pittman, is that there's going to be things like the hemp bill that come up. And if you're a hemp farmer and you show up in the nicest pair of jeans you have, your boot cut jeans and your boots and your nice Texas satellite dish belt buckle and your nice cowboy hat and a shirt like this and probably a blue blazer over it, you'll be fine. That's considered appropriate for who you are and what you're there for. Yep. But if you're there for a decriminalization bill, dress like you're going to court.
Yeah.
Because you're in a courthouse. You really are. You're in a courthouse.
Right. I mean, it's
where the laws are made.
Well, the Supreme Court of our state is literally in that building, so you are in a courthouse.
Very quite literally, and it's just, this is a very professional environment, and when I'm talking about very, very, very high profile people from around the world, come in and out of that building on the daily, you just have to assume that you're like at a United Nations assembly and show up the part. I'm not saying go buy a new suit or get a tux or anything like that, but like, you know, definitely pull out the nicer, the more impressive parts. You know, I think we all know how to get a little, you know, nice looking, what's the word I'm looking for? Get the good swag on, right? Like that's dress to impress. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. You know, dress the part. And that's a very important thing, because in years past, advocates have come to the building and
they're in jorts and tie-dye shirts.
Tie-dye shirts. And when I talk about like they reek of weed, like, look, yo, we get it. We're all part of this community. We get it. Maybe don't burn the blunt on the way to walking inside the Capitol is what I'm saying. You know, like
do it before you get in the car and drive up there.
Hey, if I'm pulling up on you, I'm gonna love that. I'm gonna be like, that's great. Like, what is that? People inside the Capitol
it's a good day for an edible.
They are gonna be exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
everything has its place.
I hate that I would have to even discuss such etiquette, but you know, there's a specific propaganda. There's a specific image that is emitted to a lot of these legislators, and part of killing that stigma is killing that image, because we are not all that image. All right, we're not all Cheech and Chong. We're not all.
It's
stoner
doing the work. It's something doing the work.
And something that goes with that is it's people. I've heard people go, "Well, I've gone up there looking like that, and everybody was nice and was cordial with me." And it's like, yeah, because that is how you act as a polite and responsible individual in return, regardless of how these individuals are dressed. I can guarantee you, though, behind closed doors, they're laughing about you. They're remarking about you. They're snide and nasty about it. Yep. And I've known, I won't say names, but I've known of people in other states that have done exactly that. They've gone looking like that. They go to meetings and they try to tell her, "Oh, I showed the Capitol. See, I have video. I showed up and they were nice and they shook my hand." And it's like, yes, because they know how to act appropriate in response to not get in trouble for something they would normally say behind closed doors about how you were dressed.
Especially if they got you on camera.
Even, doing the business casual that I do, and we've done some of these, direct actions. There are some offices, like I just feel when I'm leaving after I've handed them our piece of paper, that I'm waiting to hear that piece of paper hit the trash can just as soon as you are saying cannabis. So if you kind of double up or triple up on the whole stereotype of it's not helping the cause, unfortunately. I mean, and we're not saying don't be who you are and that kind of stuff, but it's not a game. It's really not a game.
And something talking about, like, I guess the attitude of people in the office, something I learned first session going in, and this deals with anybody who's doing, the staffers are like customer service representatives, is showing that you appreciate that they spent time with you. If you go in, you're likely going to have them go, "Hey, afternoon, how you doing? How can I help you?" If you go, "I'm doing great. How about you? How are you doing?"
Right.
And they'll go, "Oh, I'm doing fine." You'll watch the attitude on their face just completely change. Like, "Oh, I actually want to talk to you. What do you have going on? How can I actually help you?" You care.
And then half of the offices, literally, you start talking about weed, and they're like, their eyes perk up, and they're like, "This is a conversation we want to have."
Yeah.
Some of the offices are like, "I don't know if I want to have this conversation, but it's actually kind of an important thing, and is a very, very," and when I say very, very, I mean like the most extreme very that can be defined in the English language, bipartisan, multi-partisan, however you want to call it. It's probably the number one like major issue that's still out there, if it's even an issue, that an overwhelming, like, gross majority of people all agree on, right? So it's something that everybody wants to talk about. It's something that's happening all around us, in New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Mexico. So, like, in our communities. Y'all may hear about the new, CBD shop that just opened up. So like everybody has an opinion, even these staffers, especially the young ones, they definitely have a very strong opinion. It's something that they're genuinely interested in. And if you have knowledge that you are some good, credible knowledge that you are willing to bring to their office, then you are helping arm that office in a positive manner that will hopefully reflect in their support. And I know a lot of people want to bash on Republicans. I've been coming to Republican offices for 6-7 years now.
They're just as receptive as
they
the
are.
Democrats
Just they are ready to talk.
I've got to say this before we get out of here, because Jesse's going to try to close the door on us. The one last thing I got to say in remarks to what you were just saying, Austin, so far in the 3 trips I've made to the Capitol this session, I've visited right at 100 offices out of 180. And 95% of those were very receptive to the conversation. So
staffers can be very receptive.
Don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared of.
There was a staffer last session. There was literally a staffer last session that I remember going in and talking to the guy. I'm 6'5", and this guy was as big as me. Shook my hand like I was Paul Bunyan of some sort, and saw him multiple times. Very professional. And the representative, whose office he was in, he's a representative senator. They were kind of on the fence about things. And I saw this staffer at the end of legislature party in Austin, it was like a week afterwards, and he was out there like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And it was like, "You were with us the whole time." He's like, "Of course, man." Don't be afraid of the staffers. They're probably on your side. They're probably trying to actually talk their boss into being on your side. 100%. So what do we have as our So what a lot of them are using, I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of them have carts, or they bought some flour at some point, or they're using hemp. They don't want to go to jail over that.
They've all been to college or in college.
They're in the same boat as us.
Yeah.
They want their bosses to understand that. So with all this in mind, we got to wrap it up. We've been over an hour. We have any final thoughts? It is fun.
I love this. Let's keep these going. Next month, March, we should do one. Literally live from the Capitol or live from Austin or something like that.
Yeah, we need to get something going from Austin one of these go rounds. Maybe the night before Lobby Day.
That's what I was thinking. Well, but there might be the day before. Yeah, the day before Lobby Day. Or something like that. These are fun. These are fun to get on here, mix it up. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Contributing as always. Jesse for putting this broadcast together. Gramps, you've been just crushing it at the Capitol. It's crunch time. A year ago, we were getting ready to go to New Mexico to see legalization happen. And now we're going to Austin to see if we can make legalization happen, right? So, or something, anything. So just thank you for everybody, the support, for following us, for commenting, for resharing, posting us in your story, getting the word out, talking to other people about the content that we're producing. Thank you. You are the reason why we're here, why we're fighting. We've sacrificed a lot, and we do that for the greater good because we believe in our fellow man, we believe in our fellow Texan, and that what we're doing is the work that needs to be done. And we want to lead by example, and we're trying to do that. So just thank you for everybody for following along, and we hope to make leaders out of everybody that follows.
Peace.
Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the Lonestar Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Williams. Man, it has been one heck of a day and one heck of a show. We were live this whole time. So if you join us live, we appreciate you joining us. We hope the next time we go live, we invite you. You'll also invite some of your other friends and let them know what's going on. We thank those who have actually joined in and given comments for our podcast and asked questions. Thank you, Rob, Sean, Leah, Cletus Mac. How you doing, buddy? glad you were able to show up. Like and subscribe to us, Facebook, YouTube. We have videos of these that go up weekly. We put some shorts out here every now and then. We hope you can join us at the Capitol for the Marijuana Lobby Day, Tuesday, March 14th. Everybody enjoy themselves. Have a great evening.